Hey, so today we're going to be going over my 24-point project manager checklist. So I have it right here. It's on my iPad. Probably by the time you're watching this, if it's a year later, 2 years later, we may add to it. So 24 is what we have right now. And this list has saved me, I would say it saved my ass plenty of times, from, I would say, cost overruns, from projects being delayed, from, maybe angering one customer or not angering another customer. So having this checklist is what I've used, and every time that there's something new that comes up, I go ahead and add to that checklist. So, and we're gonna go through everything on here. So if you're looking to manage a project and you want it to go smooth, this is what you need right here. So the first thing we're gonna talk about, now again, this is project manager checklist to update and remodel your kitchen, like a full gut job. So if you follow these steps and follow this checklist and be able to hire the right people, it should be very smooth, all right? So the first thing is the measurements. So before anything gets started, we have to measure the space. So you're talking about, you gotta measure the walls, you have to measure the area where, let's say if you have any windows, any doors. So the entire kitchen area, those walls have to be measured. You can measure them yourself. I wouldn't recommend that. I would get a professional carpenter or whoever is doing the install to measure the walls in your kitchen. I know it seems simple, tape measure. Trust me on this one. You want to get a professional installer / carpenter to go ahead and do those measurements. Next is the design. So once you have your measurements, now we're going to go ahead and create the design. So with the design, you're going to send this to an AutoCAD specialist, 3D designer. My team, we do that. And what they do is they take your vision from what it is to where you want it to be. So if you're looking for, let's say a shaker style kitchen, two-tone kitchen, European style kitchen, raised panel kitchen. So whatever that design is or what type of doors that you want to get, this would be the step to do that. And working with the designer, they'll be able to take the measurements and create the ideal space, that vision of what you want to become. The next step is the cabinet manufacturer. So this is where you would purchase the cabinets, again, whether it's raised panel, whether it's shaker, whether it's European style. And that's also going to dictate the price of the cabinets that you purchase, depending on what kind of style that you get and the manufacturer that you get it from. All right, so I really don't want to discuss price on that because it ranges so wide. It's probably going to be the most expensive part of the project, unless you get, I would say, a quartzite or a mitered edge countertop. Countertops, they can get expensive depending on material that you get, but generally speaking, the cabinets, it's going to be your most expensive part of the project. Next is the installer. So this is where you want to get with your carpenter, you want to get with a tile person, someone that knows how to do installs. There's a lot of people that do it, but I would go with someone that mostly does installs, okay? Going with someone that specializes in installs makes the most sense because that's what they do. They're gonna, the trim, and it's not really just the assembling of the cabinets and then just the install. A lot of it's in the minor details, installing the trim, the shoe mold, the toe kicks, the quarter rounds, making sure that the crown is installed evenly. Some people like to nail the crown molding from the back, some do it from the front, and then whenever you have those edges that butt up against each other, you really want to get someone that's all they do, and they've done this like 100 times. So again, next thing is going to be the installer. You're also going to need an electrician. So the electrician, their job is going to be mostly to, I would say, disconnect all of your appliances. And now that we're talking about appliances, most of my clients, they usually do get new appliances, but if you're looking to salvage the appliances, this is where you need a really good electrician because a lot of the wiring is going to be, it might have some issues whenever you go back to, I would say, reconnecting, let's say the microwave, or reconnecting the garbage disposal, or reconnecting any of these appliances. They can be tricky if they're not new to reconnect. So next is the plumber. So you're going to need a plumber because there's plumbing in the kitchen, but their job primarily is going to be disconnecting the plumbing before you do the demo. And then also after everything's put back together, the sink's installed, then it's going to be reconnecting the plumbing. So that's going to be their primary job. Now, if you have a more complex project where you're going to be moving, I would say like moving plumbing, or you're relocating where the sink is. Maybe it's from the wall. You're going to put in the center of the kitchen. Maybe put it in an island. So your plumber is going to be integral, and they're also going to be working with your floor person. All right. So next thing is dumpster. You're going to have to rent a dumpster. You least to me for a kitchen, depending on the size, but you want to at least get a 15 yarder. They're going to run between maybe $550 to $850 depending on the company. So it just really depends who you work with. And some of them, if they are cheaper, sometimes they have a very short window of how long you get to keep it. Ideally, you want to at least be 2 weeks. If it's 1 week, it may be cutting it really tight because every now and then there's going to be delays on these projects. So you want to have at least 2 weeks. Unless you're working with an experienced project manager and they're on top of everything, then 1 week might be okay. So next would be demo. Demo, you could use a carpenter or you could use a tile person. Most of those trades, they're very skilled at doing the demolition. Now keep in mind, you want to, at this point, have the plumbing disconnected before you do the demo. And I would say most tile people or carpenters that I've used to do demo, they're very experienced and they've been able to do the disconnect plumbing. So after the demo, you want to schedule a painter. So painter, drywall person. So they will come in after everything's demoed, after everything's removed, and they will drywall the entire wall, putting the new cabinets on. Everything is going to be completely drywall painted, so that way you're working with a nice clean surface. So after the painter, you're gonna have to get a delivery company to deliver the cabinets from the manufacturer. Some manufacturers will provide this service, but they are gonna charge you a fee. So you may want to, I would say, shop it if you want to maybe possibly save some money of how you get the cabinets from the manufacturer to the facility. And I probably wouldn't always go with the cheapest delivery driver. I've seen issues where they've missed pieces or they've had items chipped during shipping and they just don't take responsibility for that. So you want to get someone that you're comfortable with the shipping, because it's terrible whenever you have these brand new cabinets, they get shipped and they get all dinged up. Next will be installer. So the installer, that's going to be the person that's going to assemble all of the cabinets, put them together. They're also going to hang and install all the cabinets. So your installer, typically going to be your, again, tile person or carpenter. This is one of the most important people in your project, because this is, I've seen projects where installers barely could assemble the boxes correctly and the boxes were falling apart, the drawers were falling apart. So you really need a good, experienced cabinet installer. Next is hardware. So whenever you purchase the cabinets from the manufacturer, it doesn't include any hardware. You can get on Amazon, but locally I recommend my clients go to Richie Lou in order to get the hardware. It's going to be a lot more substantial, it's going to be heavier, a lot of times it's going to be brass, it's going to be a material that's of substance, of quality. All right, so after hardware, it's the installation. Again, the carpenter or the tile person, whoever's doing the install, they should also include the hardware assembly. They do have a charge, it's probably anywhere between $250 to $500 for that. So now we're talking about going back to the electrician. So after the cabinets are put in, now you got to bring back the electrician to reconnect everything. The next step after the cabinets have been installed, you have to bring your fabricator out. So the fabricator, that's the one who goes and cuts the stone. So the fabricator, they can double as a stone yard, but some of them operate independently. So they'll go out to your house, they'll measure, or they call it a template, your entire kitchen. So all the cabinets. So this will be, you want to schedule this right after the install. Maybe not the day after, but maybe 1 or 2 days after. So that way it gives the installers 1 or 2 days if they have like a delay or they're missing a base cabinet or something like that. If you're missing a wall cabinet, you can still get your template done, get your countertops measured. Next is the stone yard. So you want to go to the stone yard, pick out the stones. Now, me, I like to do it separate unless I can get a great deal combining the two. I like to have my clients pick out a separate slab. They just buy the whole slab and then they have a fabricator cut it versus doing it by the square footage. Now, every now and then doing it by the square footage might make more sense. So you just have to compare the two to see which one's better. All right. Next, we'll have the backsplash tile installer. So the backsplash tile installer, they're gonna come in after the countertops have been installed. So countertops installed, those are fine. Backsplash person, they'll come in. You'll be responsible typically for buying the materials. So they're gonna be covering the labor and sometimes they'll cover the adhesive. So you'll cover the tile and then you'll cover the grout. All right, so grout, I do have clients that say like, hey, can't you guys just pick it up? It is so personal. I usually want my clients to go ahead and see it for themselves, so that way they're picking out exactly what's going to be on their wall. Like, nothing's worse than having a client. Nothing's worse than having a client go out and go to their kitchen and they're like, hey, I don't like that tile, and it's already been installed. So that's a huge problem. Hasn't happened with me because I usually make sure that my clients pick out their tile and also pick out their countertops. All right, so next is the tile store. I recommend my clients go to Floor & Decor in order to get their tile. There's other places like the Tile Shop. You go to Home Depot, Lowe's, you go to those big box stores. But Floor & Decor, I would say they have the biggest selection. All right, so next is the plumbing materials like the faucet. Again, you go to Floor & Decor, you go to Home Depot, you go to Lowe's. With the faucets, there's a company called PDI Interiors. So I do recommend my clients go to PDI Interiors in order to get their plumbing fixtures. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, they have about one aisle of those items. But if you go to PDI Interiors, I believe they have like 3 locations, and it's all plumbing. They're gonna have an insane collection for you to choose from. All right, so after you pick up the faucet, next thing is the plumber. The plumber has to come back, get everything reconnected, connect all the plumbing. I'm not a plumber, but one thing I found is the reconnect is almost double the price of the plumbing disconnect. So just be mindful of that. All right. And then I would say last would be the painter. So you have to have a painter come in to do all the touch-up work. You know, some of the walls might be scratched. The backsplash might be low, need some touch-up paint, etc. Even if you already had a painter come out earlier. All right, so again, the last step is the painter. You do the walkthrough, you're done. So again, we'll give you this checklist. This is what I use in order to make sure that a project goes smooth. My typical kitchen remodel takes about 4 to 6 weeks, give or take how long it takes to get, you know, the cabinets delivered, the countertops delivered, how fast that we get the backsplash. So there's some variance in there. Probably the fastest was about 3.5, right under 4 weeks. But again, this is a very stressful project. I will rip it apart, your kitchen. It's rare that someone has been cool during the entire time. It's not something that I enjoy dealing with, but I always try and just let clients know you would not have access to your kitchen for 6 weeks. It's easy to hear that, but it's much harder to live through it. So that's one of the reasons why I made this video, so that way you're kind of walk through the entire process of what a gut job entails, whether you want to do it yourself or whether you're working with us.